As we have said 1,000 times before, the best thing about professional wrestling is that you can do whatever the hell you want to do. So if you want to have an elephant come down to the ring and become the WWE champion, as long as the elephant agrees, you can do it. It also means that sometimes people come up with crazy ideas for matches, including when it comes to those damn weapons. Because hello, my name is Simon for What Culture. Please do make sure you subscribe and watch some more videos. And yep, here's the 10 most fake wrestling weapons ever. Number 10, ladders. So let's start with one of the most iconic weapons in wrestling history. Of course, we are talking about the ladder. Now, you can't buy a fake ladder. Like, you can do certain things to it so that when somebody does fall through it, it doesn't hurt as much, but it's still a ladder. As Jim Ross used to say, you can't go to some fake ladder store and meet fake Dave who sells you one of these. They don't exist. So why is it on this list? I do hear you ask yourself, and it's very simple. Just go and watch how wrestlers use these. It is not how you would use one if you were actually trying to hurt anyone. Now, do not get me wrong, it still stings like crap, and I know this because it's happened to me, and also accidents do happen. But if you had a ladder and you were trying to win a match, you would just take it and you would bonk it on someone's head. You wouldn't kind of just like nudge it into their stomach and go, I hope that they're okay. Now, yes, of course, if you do see somebody go flying through a bunch of them, I imagine a little bit of trickery is done here. But I want to caveat with this with do not try it at home. A ladder is a ladder is a ladder is a ladder. But yeah, there are always things we can do. Number 9, the Taser. Now, of course, the most famous of these did happen at Starrcade 1998 when Bill Goldberg lost his undefeated streak to Kevin Nash when Scott Hall decided, why don't I go out there and hit him with the Taser or the cattle prod? For some reason, Hall was also dressed as a security guard, which never makes any sense, and no one ever talks about for obvious reasons, because he came out there with a weapon. Nobody was going to look at him and go, I'm clearly he's just on the staff. Somebody else who used this all the time, though, was the legendary The Mountie character who appeared in WWF way back when in the 90s, and when he used to use it there, you used to get such stupid sound effects, like pretend this is my taser, you'd honestly hear, what the flub was that? This was also piped into the arena through the PA system, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But it's also why I love the Mountie and don't you dare ever insult him. So I would go as far to say that these weren't real, mostly because if you did actually use one on a human being for as long as wrestlers do, well, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but they die. Number 8, a megaphone. Now, if you're of a certain generation, you probably remember the Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart used to love a megaphone. And while he would tap people every now and then, I actually want to talk about the Spirit Squad, because they love these things. Now, obviously, they were a bunch of cheerleaders, so it made sense why they could come out with one. And 9 times out of 10, if they did win a match, it's because they got the damn megaphone and they twonked someone with it. The thing is, if you found one of these in reality, they're actually metal and they're quite thick, whereas the sports entertainment ones are about half an inch thick and kind of look like they're made out of paper. Shawn Michaels didn't care when he was taking on Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 22 and the Spirit Squad rushed the ring. I mean, he just took it and he was taking everyone out with it. And what you really have to break this down to is, would a Stone Cold Steve Austin lose to a megaphone? Would The Rock lose to a megaphone? Would John Cena lose to a megaphone? The answer is absolutely not. So if you do know someone who got pinned after one of these, well, that just sums up where they are in the pecking order. So it was style over substance, or it was character over real life. That's the most important thing when it comes to wrestling. Otherwise, what's the point? Number 7, a plastic mask. Now, before he was ever the American Nightmare or Stardust, Cody Rhodes actually had some tremendous gimmicks, including the one where he used to come out wearing a plastic mask. Now, this was when he used to call himself the Dashing One, and after Rey Mysterio had actually hit him too hard in the face, he started to act all weird, like, oh no, my looks have been screwed up. Though he looked exactly the same. Now, he did suffer a legitimate broken nose, and because Cody wanted to continue working through this, he did don that thing on his face, which of course is when he decided, well, I am a bad guy, why don't I use it as a weapon? The thing is, when he used to headbutt people, they would react like they'd be shot with a gun. Now, of course, this would hurt a little bit. You'd be like, damn it, Rhodes, what did you do that for? But some individuals would just fall on the floor, and I don't think that's happening from a bit of plastic. This, of course, just ties into that wonderful thing of wrestling protective gear. Probably at the top of that list, you have to put D'Lo Brown and his chest protector. And years later, people still come up to me and be like, that was a terrible gimmick. No, it wasn't. It was absolutely brilliant. We are all out of our minds. Number 6, the forearm plate or the hand pin. I mean, there's 2 people that fit into this category, and never did I ever believe I'd say this sentence, because it's Lex Luger and Logan Paul. Because a big part of Luger's character, especially when he was a bad guy, was that he had a metal plate in his forearm. So every now and then he would be like, well, if I just take this and smash that guy in the face, I'll probably win the match. And he did. When we zoom forward to 2022 though, and that match that Logan Paul had with the tribal chief in Saudi Arabia, once again the commentators kept talking about the fact that he did have pins in his hand. This allegedly made his punch even stronger, which was meant to make us think that he was going to beat Roman Reigns. Shock horror, he didn't. Now look, credit to Luger, this was actually done after he suffered a motorcycle accident, and they did put that in there. But when it comes to Logan, I have absolutely no idea, although either way, it sounds a little bit dumb. Because it's not on the surface, it's right on in there. Or to put it more bluntly, it's not going to make your offense any stronger. You tell this to a wrestling promoter and there's no going back. Number 5, missed. Now we could talk about the Great Muto, we could talk about Tajiri, or we could talk about Oscar. There has been a bunch of people who have decided, I know how I can become a success, by spitting mist in people's faces. It was first used by the Great Kabuki way back in the 1980s, and of course the way it was sold was, oh no, his opponent now can't see because they got a bunch of goo in their eyes. So I suppose you could say it's like kryptonite because it does affect all wrestlers, but just to break the fourth wall, nah, it doesn't really do much of anything. As the story goes, the Great Kabuki got this from Gary Hart, who was his manager, and it all came about when he was baking some cookies. Or his wife was, anyway, and when she dropped some green food coloring on the floor and it went pfft and made a big mess, his wrestling brain went, ta-da! Gary then ran to the bathroom and mixed this with some mouthwash, and apparently mixed it in a condom, and I don't know why he had done that, but when he did try and produce the spray, he looked at it, and he just knew. And the guy was right. People still doing it in 2023. So the mist doesn't do anything, but again, it all comes down to the sell job. When someone does react to it like, I can't see anymore. Well, I, for one, absolutely love it. Number 4, guitars. Now, I play guitar, and you probably play guitar, so when you pick one up and go down, 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 you know how well built they are. And then you see them in wrestling as they just explode into dust. You just know something's going on here. That's because they are heavily gimmicked. Of course they are. For one, I would imagine the wood they use is a lot thinner, but also all the insides have been taken out, so if you actually did kind of play it, it'd be crap. Jeff Jarrett is a dude that has been using this for years. On his podcast, he actually said, well, some guitars are harder than others, and we need to get around this. And if you really want to find out the truth, go and talk to Jake Roberts. He was once struck by a real guitar, courtesy of the Honky Tonk Man, and it basically almost ruined him. And he said he was picking bits of wood out of his back for weeks. And if that is the case, well, let's stick to the stupid one. Number 3, barbed wire. Now, the best story about barbed wire in wrestling, at least for me, is when we go back to the Royal Rumble 2000, and as Mick Foley tells it, he wanted to use real barbed wire. Triple H decided, maybe I'll just use the fake stuff, so they did a sleight of hand trick so that nobody could see it. The other story that goes down here is that we did need some fake barbed wire, because if the New York Athletic Commission had found out that we were using real ones, the whole show could have been shut down. But still, when you do see real barbed wire get used and it sticks in somebody's skin, makes me feel all googly boogly. Other than Foley though, especially when it comes to WWE, 9 times out of 10, we do use the stuff that we've just made up, mostly because of what just came out of my mouth. This could actually kill someone. Like, have you ever tried to go over a barbed wire fence? Of course you haven't, because you have a brain and you're not stupid. What usually happens is that the actual bits of wire are tipped with bits of rubber, which of course means you can go thwack and smack somebody in the skull, and while I bet it still hurts a lot, it kind of bounces rather than pierces. However, I am just going to hold my hands up and never call any of this fake, even though I have used that term as a descriptor, because anyone that even puts themselves in this kind of situation has my total and utter respect. Number 2, Kendo Sticks. Now, as we have discussed on Ups and Downs, if you're wondering why a wrestler always has access to a Kendo Stick, it's because they're native to under a wrestling ring. So now you know. I would say even though loads of wrestlers have used this, it was ECW's The Sandman that made them super duper popular. And then for some reason WCW copied that, the WWF copied that, and in 2023, well, WWE just flipping loves them. I guess because they make a big noise. It's mostly because the wood that they use here is hollow and the bamboo is kind of separated. So you can give someone a big old smack with this, and once again it goes, but it ain't gonna kill someone. So I suppose it's satisfying to hear, but have you seen some of the social media posts the wrestlers put up afterwards? This ain't no picnic. You ain't sitting down with Winnie the Pooh. It still stings like hell. And I know for one, if someone said they were gonna do it to me, well, I'd probably have a little cry first. Number one, tables. Now you can see this a mile off, and it also does kind of tie into a lot of what we talked about here today. When a wrestler goes through a table, it breaks pretty easily. Thank goodness for that. I mean, for starters, the ones that most companies bring in are wafer thin, but you can also fiddle around with this so that when someone does hit the middle of it, it just goes poof, and it collapses in on itself. Once again, as times have passed, it's no longer just people taking a random choke slam through one. We are going to top ropes and doing like a 470 corkscrew moonsault through the things. So I don't care if they're real, I don't care if they're fake, I don't care if they come from La La Land. It's still absolutely nutty. The only two things we do need to remember is that one, you're meant to suspend your disbelief here, and also that wrestlers should take care of themselves. But in at number two, fans still want them. I mean, how many times do we hear the "we want tables" chant all of the time? And that means we've ticked a massive box, and that means you've totally smashed it. And you've done something right. No any other weapons in wrestling that are kind of fake, but also you should respect because wrestlers are putting their asses on the line? Please let me know in the comments below, and also click one of the videos that is on the screen right now. Then of course like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Come check it out at whatculture.com, and if you'd like to say hello on social media, it's WhatCultureWWE or Simon Miller 316. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you very much for watching me as always, and thank you to all of the wrestlers in the world who do put their bodies on the line every single day for my entertainment. I super duper appreciate it. Goodbye.